this special council meeting to order. Good morning, everyone. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none, review of items not listed on the agenda. Madam Clerk?
Your Worship, we have a delegation, a correspondence, 2 reports, a resolution, and an item of other business.
Thank you. Announcements. Where did we start last week? Over here? Go ahead.
Just only a few of them, I guess, and I'm sure everybody else talked about it. The Scottish Festival was great on the weekend, really well attended.
Talk into your mic.
It was really well attended, that festival on the weekend, so glad to see it got off to a good start again. Maybe it'll be around for a few more years to come. That's all I have. I'm sure everybody will cover all the other events we've been at in the last 2 weeks. Have we not been here since the golf tournament?
No.
Wow, okay. The golf tournament was a great success again this year at Wooden Sticks, and thank you to Wooden Sticks. They did a great job putting that together for our golf fund. So I would like to thank all the sponsors. We had some great sponsors, and thank council that attended and staff for all your help. It was a great day, a lot of fun. Weather cooperated, so we have a little money to spend this year on some of those great community projects.
That's good, because I can find lots of places to spend it.
I think we all can.
Councillor Hyatt.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. Pat's already mentioned the town golf tournament. I just want to personally thank all the sponsors. It was a great day for all of us. Those that participated had a great time. Also, we had the Bonners Rib Fest there last weekend. We had a visit from our finance minister and our MP. It was a great day for those that were here. He toured the pavilion at the back while Mayor O'Connor was filling him in on all the things that we do here in Uxbridge, and I think he was quite glad that he came. Anyway, it was a great visit, and I just wanted to thank Jennifer for arranging that. Last week we had the Ride to Remember Brent Foster in town. I don't know if you were over Canadian Tire. There was over 100 motorcycles. I think Lauren was pleasantly surprised of the turnout this year, so hopefully he'll come back and let us know how that went. And Pat's already mentioned the Scottish Festival. I'm glad they had a great success on Saturday. It was the best day they could have picked all summer. And they had a few of the pipe bands there. They're hoping to expand it, under my understanding, for next year, bring in the Highland Games, which also attracts a huge crowd, so good luck to them with that. Coming up this month, we have the Thomas the Train event, which I think Pam will talk more about, but I'll let that up to her. Thank you, Mayor O'Connor.
Thank you. Councillor Beach?
Good morning, everybody. All the things that were aforementioned by Pat and Gord. Thomas the Train begins August the 11th, 12th and 13th, and the weekend after, the 18th, 19th and 20th. You know, if you know of any parents that have kids from 2 to 6, I'm sure they'd be very, very interested in coming out to see Thomas the Train. And for myself, farming, hay, hay, hay.
Where can you buy tickets?
You buy tickets online.
Only online?
Only online.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, one thing I forgot, end of August, August 31st, Farmers of Uxbridge at the Uxbridge Arena Community Centre. And we're featuring a lot of local farmers, and please come out and buy some things, but find out the chain of value, how things move around and where they go from agriculture in our community. Thank you.
Just one quick announcement.
Councillor Bryan?
Thank you. One quick announcement. I went to the Diamond Duster Ball tournament yesterday to check everything out. 88 teams, was a great success. One thing I think we need to do is when Ted comes in next time is tell him to let the restaurants know, because they kind of got swamped with the business. They didn't expect that many people here. So we'll just mention it to him when he comes back in.
Thank you. Councillor Fraser?
Thank you, Your Worship, and most of the things have been mentioned. The one thing that still, we haven't solidified the date for the saplings for the Vimy Oaks, and now that Bob's back, I'll get together with him and give you the proper dates.
Yes, the only one that has been mentioned is the epic lake-to-lake adventure ride. So that starts at the Beaverton Harbor. It's on August 26th. So you start in Beaverton and you ride along the Trans-Canada Trail to Uxbridge, stop for lunch at the Second Wedge, and then ride back roads all the way to Lake Ontario. So it's $20. It's a Trans-Canada Trail sponsored event, and all the different municipalities are involved. So, should be a fantastic day. And anyone who wants to ride, come on in.
This button here? Okay. Is it working? Okay. 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 Well, I can try the other one. No. It's working now? Okay. Thank you. So I'll go with this one then? Okay. I'm not used to being a speaker. I'm Donette Dillon, and I'm representing the Dillon family at 126 Zephyr Road. Well, I believe you all should have a package that I delivered ahead of time, okay, because I'm going to be referring to some of the details in that when I talk. When our son Matt, who is a pilot, bought a larger plane, he decided that he wanted to needed to improve the turf runway that's at the, we have a large hill on our property, and there was a very rough, short turf runway on it, and that he had been able to land his smaller planes on, but when he bought a larger one, he needed to improve that, to make it a little bit longer, a little bit significantly wider, and a little bit leveler. And so before going ahead with this, we spent considerable time investigating what do you need to do to improve a runway. And unfortunately, even though we spent a lot of time talking to quite a few people, we were told that the sole thing that needed to be adhered to, legislation, was the Federal Aeronautics Act. Since that time, we've learned that there's been some lower court decisions that it is no longer quite so clear that municipal and provincial legislation isn't applicable. So it's become clear that there are portions of municipal and provincial legislations that need to be adhered to. And also, just I think it was effective just the beginning of this year, although it was passed a little earlier, the federal government updated some regulations to say, related to aeronautics, that say at least there needs to be, if nothing else, more communication around anything that's happening with runways. So we've done a lot of learning, and seems to be that the acknowledged test as to whether municipal and provincial legislation is applicable for runways is something called the SSI test, which means does the municipal or provincial legislation significantly or seriously intrude on the Aeronautics Act. So I'm sure you're all aware of the problems out at the Greenbank Airport. I think everybody in the area is. And also everybody is aware that the court decision found in favor of the township of Scugog, which we heartily agreed with. The significant thing in the judge's finding, however, there was not that the bylaw, the township's bylaw for site alteration and fill and so on, passed this SSI test that's referred to. The significant thing in that finding was that the judge determined that they were not doing anything related to aeronautics at that location. It was a commercial landfill site. Therefore, the Aeronautics Act had no jurisdiction at all, because there was no Aeronautics Act. So it didn't pass the SSI test, it just wasn't applicable. The Aeronautics Act wasn't applicable. However, a comment made in the judge's ruling did help open one of these gray areas. The main concern raised in that case, of course, was the quality of the fill. And in speaking to that point, the judge made the comment that even if the work was for aeronautical purposes, which it wasn't, the requirement to use clean fill would not intrude on the Aeronautics Act. So that was the first gray area. The gray area related to soil quality was again raised in the decisions related to the Burlington Airpark. And in that one, again, they found in favor of the town, but the township's bylaws. But the interesting thing there is that They were ordered to remove some fill dumped without permission in the areas not related to runways, but the runways were specifically excluded. There was a special order that even allowed that work to continue. However, Burlington has a totally separate bylaw that deals only with soil quality. And they were ordered to comply with that bylaw even for the runway areas. So it's become very clear that municipalities have the right to ensure soil and dumping it ourselves. It's our property, we don't. But what it seems to say, these decisions, is it's not as simple as saying, is a bylaw either enforceable or not enforceable? It seems like you need to look at the components of the bylaw and see which ones are applicable when there's aeronautics work. So clearly, they can, you know, if you're dumping contaminated soil versus clean soil, that has nothing to do with the safety of runways. So obviously, the municipal bylaws would hold. However, municipalities cannot seem to have the right to prohibit or control the dumping of soil if the soil is needed to create a safe runway, because that would be a significant intrusion on the exclusive federal jurisdiction the Aeronautics Act has, in order, because their responsibility is to ensure the safety of runways. When the township first issued the stop work orders, we went to the lawyer for COPA, which is the Pilots Association, and we thought it was going to be as simple as just somebody explaining to the township or the township's lawyers that the municipal bylaw didn't apply. Well, since then we've learned about all these gray areas. We've done a lot of learning, and the learning has been very expensive. It's cost us $10,000 in legal fees, and it's going to cost us about another at least $5,000 to fix all the problems with slumping and erosion that have occurred because of the delays in finishing the work. And of course, we've had such a lovely rainy spring and summer that it's made it worse. So because of that, so we know that we have that. But so we really cannot afford, and we don't want to have any kind of a battle with the township. We like living in this township. We enjoy the thing. We've had a cooperative relationship with the town before. In the past, we've run 2 charity events at our farm where we've donated about $10,000 to the town, and we thought, we're all intelligent people. Let's get the lawyers out of it and just make some intelligent decisions here. So that's what we'd like to do, is we're asking that the town will work with us cooperatively again, and let's find a fair and right solution for all of us. When we look at it, we can see very clearly and agree that soil quality is very important. So we've complied, we've done all the testing that the town has asked, and they've come back with clean soil samples. So I think we're okay there. With regard to a permit, we don't really believe that we should have to comply with the remainder of the bylaw about permit. Under the Aeronautics Act, we have the right to improve the runway to make it safe. And adding and moving soil is part of what's needed, and therefore it should not require a permit. In the Supreme Court decision that introduced that SSI test, it very clearly stated that the decisions related to runways are not subject to municipal regulation or permissions, as these matters are exclusive federal jurisdiction. And there were 2 different Supreme Court of Canada decisions that said one ruled against the province of Quebec when their legislation attempted to require provincial approval for an aerodrome, which an aerodrome is like a small airport, a runway. The decision stated that the seeking of approval seriously impaired the power of the Aeronautics Act. We see this as being equivalent to the town's requirement to get a permit. So we're kind of thinking the permit probably doesn't apply. And the other one ruled against the municipal government when it was seeking to prevent an aerodrome in an area zoned agriculture, reaffirming that the Aeronautics Act was the sole authority on runway location. So our opinion is that we shouldn't probably need to get a permit, because we shouldn't have to get permission for something that's controlled by the Aeronautics Act. We would ask that if the town agrees with it, that when we can reach an amicable solution today, that we could have the stop work orders lifted on our property so that we can finish the work and get topsoil. And then that's in the next point, we need to get some topsoil in. We have some topsoil from pushing it aside when they started the work, but it won't be enough, because you need to have a good thick turf runway to have a safe landing. So we're going to have to bring in not a lot, but a few more loads of topsoil just to ensure that. And we're gonna need to work with the town on I don't know what's required for testing, topsoil, but we'll have to work with the town on that. And the other thing we'd like to just propose is that, the federal government has come up and said that they got new regulations saying there needs to be more communication around runways with municipal and provincial governments. Technically, our aerodrome would be exempt because it would fall under one called low volume, if you read their regulation. But we'd like to commit that we really want to just have a good working relationship with the township, so we'll commit that if we ever do want to do any more work on the runway in the future, that we would, sit down with the town's bylaw officer and tell them what we plan to do and look at the whole thing together and decide what's required and what isn't, so that we will not have any more problems. So I just ask that today we'd like to get this thing resolved, and we would like to do it as amicably as we can and cooperatively.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the very thorough report. I'm going to suggest that probably, unless you have questions, that we refer this back to staff, and let them sit down with the Dylan, sorry. Councillor Maunder?
Thank you, Your Worship, and good morning to everyone. First off, thanks for the background information. I'm planning this runway. You're going wider and you're going longer.
A slight bit longer,
Okay.
more wide, yeah.
Did you calculate how many loads of fill you were going to have to bring in?
We didn't calculate it, no. We kind of estimated it in our heads with what we did. My one son has done, he worked for a company one summer who did a lot of work with fill and stuff, so he just kind of estimated it.
Okay, can I ask you where you brought the fill in from?
It was brought in, okay, I could get that answer for you. I'm not sure exactly. It was brought in locally. It wasn't brought in from Toronto. I don't believe any of it was brought in from there. It was brought in locally, and we were very clear that we wanted clean soil with when the person was arranging it. But my son was the one who arranged that, and I'm not sure I could answer that.
So you didn't truck it yourself? You had some other group truck that in?
Yes. Well, it was just, yeah, we don't have a trucking operation, so yeah, we had to have it brought in. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But we made it very clear that we're only interested in clean fill. And in fact, at one point, we did find that we had 2 loads dumped that had some oil. An oil tank was in it, like from a household furnace. And we were really upset about that. We made them remove that 2 loads, and then we actually removed another 6 loads ourselves all around it, because we wanted to ensure we didn't have any contamination.
Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, pending the report back from staff, Mrs. Dillon, can you just tell me, he's flying a 180 right now, or he's purchasing the 180, the Cessna?
I'm sorry, I did not hear you.
Is he purchasing the Cessna 180, or
Oh, no,
he
he
flies
owns it.
that now?
Yeah, he owns it.
So is he flying off your property presently, or? is
No,
this
no,
planned?
he cannot land. The new plane is large enough, he cannot, it's not safe to land. It wasn't quite long or wide enough. So no, he has parked it somewhere else, and he's...
So is he flying something else presently into your property?
Oh, he's not flying anything into
Nothing?
it right now.
Okay.
In fact, it can't be landed on right now, because with the work we
So-
did, it's not even smooth, and it's not
not,
smooth
okay.
enough to land on.
And you mentioned in the future, you could be expanding it. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? I mean, is he
Well,
planning to
what
bring
I'm meaning is in the future, I'm presuming he may somewhere down the road want to build some kind of a little hangar to park it under or something, he
Right.
doesn't have any immediate plans for it, because he's out of money.
Okay.
But,
So it's money, okay.
but I'm just saying that, I'm recognizing that there's always a possibility there could be additional changes in the future.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that, we all want to know that we're going to work
So do you have
cooperatively.
dimensions of the runway that you need to construct? Do you know what that would be? Width and
Yes,
length?
it's something like, it has to be a minimum, I believe it was 1,000 feet long it has to be.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that. He's the pilot, he's the one who knows all those figures, he's the one but it's somewhere around that, I'm pretty
Somewhere in
sure.
Okay, thank
It
you.
might be 1,100 feet or something, but it needs to be a little longer.
Needs to be bigger. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor?
Thanks, Danette. I guess, one of the situations we're in here is that, we don't necessarily agree on your opinion about who has authority over runways or not. We have some pretty good advice from our attorneys as well. As you know, you've had...
Well, I've read the letters from them all, and I think,
and so, the issue becomes, you're sort of suggesting to us that we open this up and we agree that if you want an aerodrome, you can do whatever you want, and that's sort of a precedent I don't think we want to set.
Well, I don't think that's what I'm trying to say.
But if we give you permission to do, if we sort of say everything's fine and dandy, that's what we are doing, and that's a concern. So staff will have to deal with that when they come back with the report. And I guess the one thing that, I mean, I know you went through all these hoops and whatnot to try to get this done, and I just wish you'd come to the township and ask the township, out of all those people that you approached, I mean, had you approached the township, maybe we could have worked it out somehow and got something done in the beginning. That's my only concern. I know you spent a lot of time talking to everybody else, but the only ones that they didn't talk to was us, unfortunately, and that's what's caused the situation we're in today. But
And what we've learned from that mistake, because he went specifically to pilot people,
I know.
because we're thinking runways. So we're thinking, what is required for a runway? So unfortunately, back last fall when this was all happening, my husband was going in for surgery, so he and I were not as involved as we normally would be in some decisions. And young people tend to barge ahead a little more without thinking. I will say that, you know, just a little nicely. So we've done some learning in this. But we're certainly not saying, I guess what we have learned here is there is no black and white. It's a lot of gray stuff, and it's better to just do things cooperatively. So,
all right, thanks.
yeah.
Just, go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, so how many loads have you dumped so far of this fill?
We estimated it at about 200. In fact, I don't think we kept good track of it, but it was around 200.
Okay.
And the township, after they did their, you know, after digging the holes, you know, for the soil samples, they also do, you know, they can kind of estimate whether they think that's right. And Andre Ratton has come back and confirmed that that's the amount. They think that seems a reasonable estimate.
Okay. And was this a revenue source for you? Like, did you get paid to have the fill on your property?
We didn't get any money. Now, I believe what my son did with it, he was told that if you get clean fill, there's not much money in getting it. Like, you get more money for fill that's more questionable. But to get really clean fill, you get very little. And I think the deal he made with the fellow who was moving the dirt for him was that guy kept the money as toward the gas and so on to pay for the machine. So it didn't go into our pocket, but I think there was some money, but I think it was small. And I could find that out for you. I could ask my son
Okay.
if it matters, but it was...
Well, no, I just, there was obviously revenue going on in Greenbank. I was just curious on
Oh, yeah, well,
your
that
situation.
that was meant to be... And also, I understand from Greenbank that it was very questionable soil being brought in, and I understand you can get a lot of money per load for questionable soil, but we were not the least bit interested in that. I would not have allowed it on my property. I mean, we live there. We swim in the pond there. We drink the water from the well there.
Yeah.
I don't want contaminated soil there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Just one thing before we vote on this is, you said that there's going to have to be more soil brought in. Do you have any idea how many more loads you're going to need?
My son said probably only about 20 loads, maybe 20, maybe 25 max or something like that, because we do have some topsoil. It was scraped off the top before we
Okay.
started. It's just that because it's the top of a hill, it's not
Right.
as thick topsoil as there is on other areas. So he says he thinks we'll need to bring in a few more loads just to, you know, make it so it'll grow. Not a lot.
Okay, great. All right. Refer to staff. Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Bellinger. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, so we refer it to staff, and the dialogue now will take place between you, or not necessarily you, but certainly some member of your family,
Yep.
and staff, and see if we can't get this settled.
So will someone contact us about meeting, or how does that work?
Yeah, we'll bring back a report,
Okay.
okay, which will come back on August the 21st.
Okay, and then after that, we'll just proceed with someone from the town, a meeting with the town or
Right.
something? Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Okay, our next deputation is Michael and Selena Birkbeck regarding concerns on the zoning bylaw amendment 2017-04, Benny de Blase. And I have to say that before the Birkbecks say anything, that I was a little shocked to drive by there the other day and see a
Yep.
sub sign I think that's a little presumptuous, to say the least. We haven't gone through a, it hasn't been a bylaw or anything, so if that's what you're here to talk about, I took note as well.
It's also full.
Obviously, I guess you all know, my name is Mike Birkbeck. We reside at 173 Reach, and this is my wife, Selena. I just wanted to thank you first off, because I know we were kind of a late addition to the deputation, so I just wanted to thank you for that. We couldn't attend. I'm just going to go through a little bit of history of what brought us here. We got the letter notifying us of the public meeting on the 26th, and unfortunately my wife and I were out of town, couldn't attend, so we drafted a letter outlining our concerns, and we issued that to the town clerk, and it's stated June 22nd. And I'm not going to go through the contents of the letter, as I'm sure you probably all read it, so you all know our concerns, and we asked to be notified of everything. So when I started noticing the construction and the signs going up, I started to make a few calls to find out what was going on and if we'd get some more information. I went to the township's website and downloaded the minutes from the meeting, and I noticed there wasn't any mention of our letter or any of our concerns. However, Jax assured me through my conversation with him that you did all receive it. But then Debbie LaRue was nice enough to supply a copy of the report from the
Working committee.
yeah, the Development Services report, and I noticed that there was an omission of our letter or our concerns in that report as well. It says on the third page in public comments that no written comments were received, so that's kind of what brought us here. Is we noticed that there's construction going on and things are progressing along quickly, and we kind of don't know if there's been any resolve or any discussion regarding our concerns in our letter. So that's kind of what brought us here today.
I can't answer for the clerk, but I can say that we certainly all got a copy of it, and it's usually mentioned, so, when there's written submissions, so that's just been an error, I believe.
Yeah, and that's immaterial, really.
No, that's fine,
Okay.
but we did take it into consideration when, the item was dealt with, okay? And, that's all I can say at this point. I was a little stunned when I drove by and saw we had a sub shop there,
Yeah.
but,
We're equally stunned because they have, the signs are already up, the signs are in the window, he's already been putting, equipment in there. And our understanding is that when we submit a report for review, that we're to be notified if a decision's made, and there's an allotment of time for us to come back if we have disagreements or to work it out together as a community. And when we see all of that happening, our concerns are, why is this already in place, why is it already happening, we haven't even, in our opinion, been considered. And we are part of that community, we deal with a lot of garbage as it is with that plaza. There's a lot of things in our report that we'd like to know, has it been discussed, what were the end results, and what are the decisions being made? Is he going to be having to put garbage bins out? What are the hours? Because we're dealing already with a lot of vandalism because of the plaza. So what is going to happen with the hours? Is he eventually going to have a liquor license? That's going to change the hours again. Like, there's a lot of concerns when putting a restaurant type endeavor into that plaza. So we want to make sure that all the concerns for not just ourselves in the community, but everyone residing there are being taken into consideration. We understand he does need to make money. We understand he needs to fill his plaza. We're not trying to prevent that from happening. We just want to make sure that everyone in the community is being taken care of their concerns.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Councillor Hunt?
Thank you for coming in. I agree. I'm ticked that the guy's got the signs up already, because the bylaw's supposed to be passed today. I'm not even happy that he's jumped the gun, because that's not the way it's supposed to work. The way it's
Yeah.
supposed to work is you wait till we say yay or nay,
Yeah.
right? And he's jumped the gun. I don't know if we can stop and not pass this bylaw today and talk to him? Yeah, maybe
We
we'll
can
just table
table
it
it.
and talk to him, because I think it's wrong. And if we allow him to open up and go ahead, then it's just rewarding bad behavior.
Yeah.
So that's
And
my-
like Selena said, we're not opposing anything
appreciate
here.
that.
We
You should've been
we have some
informed.
concerns, we'd like them just talked about.
Sure, yeah.
I don't think they're unreasonable requests either.
No.
But I think we'd like to have it stated that what's gonna happen with some of our concerns, will he be required to put, I know it sounds silly and probably petty, but garbage bins is a big deal. And the fact
Yeah.
that food is, currently right now, when they are dropping off for the convenience store, for the milk and eggs and everything, the truck, there's no proper area for the truck to unload. So what happens is the truck sits right in front of where the parking is supposed to be, and they unload right in front of the plaza. With you adding in the Subway shop, where is that person going to unload all of their food? How is that going to be dealt with? We've had 2 major accidents there. We've had where they've driven right into the plaza. So what is going to be happening? Are they going to put anything up in front of those windows to put
Maybe some
barricades?
barriers or
Is,
some
where is the
curbs
parking gonna
or
happen?
something, you know?
Is there enough parking when you're adding a sub shop? Because currently, right now, there was already a bylaw amendment done for that property to allow for additional apartments, less parking, less green space. Where does it stop on that property? I wanna make sure that that property is being well used. Yes, he's making the money he needs to make, but those considerations are definitely being taken into consideration before he just opens the sub
Well,
shop. And then
I-
we're dealing with the aftermath, and how do we, once he's been given the permission, how do we then deal with all the things we're already dealing with now, added more on top of that?
I think in light of the fact, that, the piece of correspondence isn't noted anywhere, and the fact that, we have to check and make sure it went through the right, process, that, I can pretty well guarantee you that, bylaw 2017-109 will not be passed today.
Okay.
As I said, I apologize for the error. It was an error, or an oversight. And, so we won't be dealing with this again until we get a proper report back. And, I would suggest it probably would be in the August meeting,
Okay.
but I wouldn't guarantee that either. It'll depend on, what our planner, her comments are,
Right?
Okay,
okay?
so we'll just wait for correspondence from...
Yeah.
We'll make sure you get something.
Okay, great.
Anyway, thank you very much for
Thank you for
taking
giving us
time.
the time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
To you,
Just, Your
one
Worship,
second.
I think if I could recall correctly, I think the correspondence was walked onto the agenda, the night of the public meeting, I believe. So that could be where things fell through the cracks there, so.
It is now, just so you're aware, it's now noted, there was an amendment made to the minutes of that day. So later in the afternoon, we went back, we printed out, it's now noted in there. So just so you're aware, when you go back to the website, you'll see that it's in there now. But it's not part of the planning, not the,
It's not the planning report, it's
It's
not
not in the
mentioned
planning
there,
report.
so.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bye.
Correspondence item 86, Town of Whitchurch, Stouffville, large-scale fill operation concession 9, north of Bloomington Road, 14245 9th line.
I do not, in my wildest recollection, ever remember being notified about this public meeting that they had back in 2012. Well, as the adjoining municipality, yes, we should have been. But they're saying that this all happened back in 2012. That doesn't address our concerns about water.
They do say, I'm just going by their report, that, the water table's going in the opposite direction. But still, I agree, I don't know if there's a long-term plan for testing or how far over. And one thing that you suggested, I think in one of the meetings we had recently, was they're a mile and a half now, or a kilometer and a half now, but they're coming closer and closer to 30. They're gonna fill all the way over to 30 at some
Well,
point in time.
exactly, and that's where our wellhead is. I don't know what to do with this, maybe just receive it. Certainly the region is now aware of it, and it's their responsibility for water. So, at least we've brought that to their attention. And hopefully they'll keep a close eye on this. Councillor Hyatt.
I had a question on one of their comments in here. It says, during the review process, the operator was able to satisfy the region's comments. Are they talking about York Region, or are they talking
York
about...
Regions, not Durham's.
Okay. So it talks about wellhead protection, but it doesn't mention Durham Region, who
yeah,
as we know, have that site right next to it, so, or just down the road from it, so.
yeah,
I know.
so,
That's not very clear, anyway, the report, so.
no, yeah, I don't, yeah. So I think that what we need to do is maybe, send a letter to Durham Region, and attaching this, they're supposed to have got it, but it should be addressed, to Sue Siopis, the Commissioner of Works, and saying that Uxbridge is very concerned with this project in, Whitchurch Stouffville. And, we are asking the region to, please do due diligence, when it comes to anything regarding this property.
Could we just ask if, the region was invited to attend that meeting in 2012?
Sure.
I mean, I'd like to know if they were in attendance as well.
Okay, and we can ask if they attended any of these meetings. Okay,
I'd like to move that.
okay, seconded by Councillor Hyatt. All those in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 87, Valerie Stockhouse, Shank, Manager, Support Services, Markham Stouffville Hospital, request for parking bylaw exemption for Campbell Drive and Victoria Drive to facilitate a planned parking project.
Do we have any problems with that? Okay. Ben does. Well, too bad, Ben.
I wouldn't advise it being allowed on Victoria Street because it's so narrow.
Oh, I agree with you.
Otherwise, you're gonna run into problems with
Yeah.
emergency services.
Well, you're on a bend there too,
Yeah.
a bad bend. So, okay, so we have no objections to them parking on Campbell Drive during the repaving process of the Cottage Hospital, parking lot, but we ask that there be no parking on Victoria because of the width of the street. Okay? Exemption, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Question, will we be putting signs up saying no parking on Victoria? Because, we may say in this letter that they're not allowed to park on Victoria, but that isn't gonna help somebody driving to the hospital. No one would know, no, they'll be parking there. Is there anything we can do, Ben? Okay.
Okay, well, I need, somebody to make that motion. Councillor Bryan, and Councillor Ballinger, all those in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 88, Randy Hoban, request to purchase unopened road allowance on Ball Road.
Refer this to staff. Councillor Hyatt? Councillor Barton, all those in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 89, Dave Dickey, Manager, Uxbridge Scott Agricultural Society, request for items and services to facilitate the Uxbridge Fall Fair on September 8th to 10th.
I have a concern about other than township staff driving our equipment. Ben, could you come up for a minute, please? Or maybe maybe it should be Bob, but anyway, we'll start with you. They've asked for, a loader, they've asked for a water truck, and they've asked for, I'm going by memory, guys. Oh, what was the other one? 3 pieces. Okay. A water truck and, all right, so I hit, I hit them. Do they usually use that equipment on their own?
They have in the past. Now, the one guy that drives a loader for a concrete company for like full-time every day, so
Oh, okay.
that's not an issue. And we specify that anybody driving the water truck has to have their DZ license.
Okay.
And they just go to the pond at Elgin Park Drive in the 7th to fill up. And some years, they don't even need to take it off-site.
Okay, great. And is there any, problem with, the barricades? No? Okay. A letter should be written back to, Dave Dickey, the fair manager, saying that we will meet the requirements, specified in his letter of July 25th. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor, Bryan. All those in favor? Carried. Can I just ask, just because a lot of people don't think when we donate in kind, of how much that is, and I'd just like to use this as an example, what this would cost if they had to pay for it. So, you know what, you don't have to do it today, but I think it's good going forward, that when we do these things, there is a cost to the taxpayers, and it would be good for them to know the organization that we're helping, and we want to continue to help, but there is a cost. So, if you don't mind doing that. Okay. Yep.
Correspondence item 90, Ron Bowmeister request to keep recreational trailer at 428 Feasby Road to be occupied from May to September each year.
Could I ask staff to come forward? My suggestion here, and I just want to pass it by you, is when we allow anybody to do this, we bring them in for a pre-consultation, and we do temporary zoning. So, I'm asking you, Andre, in this case, is that, I mean, we do this for everybody else. Is this a fair process for this one as well?
Yeah, if it's the same process that we follow for everybody, just, the only concern that I have, myself, would be that, it's drawing particular attention to the property itself and what it would be there for. And I think I have some concerns that way.
Can you explain that, what you mean by the purpose it's for? Because I don't know exactly what recreational trailer means. Is it like a...
The trailer would be there for security purposes.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Andre. Andre, do you know if he brings in any workers? The reason I'm asking that, just by reading that, I wondered if workers stay in that trailer.
Well, we did have a discussion with him about having security reside within the dwelling, as it would be permitted now, or we're in the process of doing that. But from a security perspective, his house is quite far from the area that needs to be secured. Therefore, it makes much more sense for them to be residing the security within that trailer, because they're directly beside the area.
Councillor Barton?
I've spoken to Mr. Bowmeister in regards to this, and I have no issues. This is in my ward. I've got no issues with the trailer being on site for 2018. I think every year is a stretch. So if we're going to allow it, I'd like it to be temporarily only from now until like October of 2018, and then not again.
Okay. Councillor?
I know you discussed the process that we've had, and we have had sort of temporary dwellings for farm workers and that sort of thing. I don't see how this is even related to that. I don't think security...
It's a trailer.
I know, but it's a temporary residence, a trailer, where a security person's in it. I don't see how that's agricultural. I mean, we've permitted agriculturally, but we haven't permitted it, I don't believe, anything like this. I think it's way out there. I understand that there's temporary people coming in to do agriculture, but to bring in someone to do security, I don't
No.
support that. That's my opinion. I don't see, why would we support somebody to come in and do security? I understand the agricultural part, but this isn't agricultural.
Well, it is agriculture. That's how That's
Well,
how
it's-
we've classed it.
It's the only agriculture it's the only farm, it'll be the only farm in town with a security guard on, I'll tell you that. So, anyway.
Well, maybe not for long, but
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. Is this for habitation, or is it like a business office? Like, what's the intent here, or is there one?
I would think, depending on the security and the shifts that he has working there, then it might be for overnight stay,
So-
depending on the length of the shifts, but
So it's not just like a business trailer, like on a
No.
construction site, that
No,
kind of thing?
no. If I could voice something else, I mean, we've received quite a bit of concerns in relation to this property, both from the police and from the adjacent community, so, in my mind, it benefits, the township for security to be on site in that location, but that's just my opinion.
okay. So no. Yeah. Okay, no, what we need to do is do a pre-consultation. All right?
So we had a meeting that was like a consultation
But
with
not everybody was there. There was, you, there was myself, there was Andre,
Ingrid.
and that was it, wasn't it? Yeah.
Okay.
So that was to try and to clear the air regarding, some other matters, but, yeah, I think it's got to go to pre-con. Okay? So, whose ward is it, yours? Okay, so you'll make that motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we,
Set up a pre-con?
Yeah.
Okay,
thanks.
and do we have a seconder? Jack? All those in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 91, Brad Buss, past President Secretary, Uxbridge Scott Historical Society request to host the 4th annual Beer and Cider Garden at Heritage Day on Sunday, August the 27th at the Historical Center.
I'll make a motion to support that, Mayor O'Connor.
Okay. All right, any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Let's hope they have good weather. Okay, reports to council. Report, 5217 regarding the retaining wall at CIBC Bank. Is everybody in on that now? We've got support of all three parties? Awesome. Okay, so we receive for information, or we support the recommendation? Okay. Seconded by Councillor Hyatt. All those in favor? Carried. Report 5317 of Karen Rule, regarding the music hall painting.
What was the discrepancy or the misunderstandings about the,
I have no idea. Ben, do you know what the discrepancy was with the painting of the music hall?
why the person wanted to back out?
Well, I think there was some wording issues in the tender, or interpretation.
Yeah, there was some clarifications that we had to make, and we have a letter in the file from the low bidder saying that he was fine with not doing the work, so it's just, we're trying to be fair to everybody and clear, and Karen and I thought that the best way to do that would be to re-tender it, and then everybody's on the same page.
Okay. Okay, seconded by Councillor Malloy. All those in favor? Carried. Report PR 06, Karen Rule regarding the Jennifer O'Connell Summer Social at Elgin Park. Unfortunately, all of us are going to be in Ottawa at AMO, but
I think that was planned.
Certainly support her. Okay. Councillor Malloy and Councillor Ballinger. All those in favor? Carried. Report 1717, Amanda Ferrero regarding the Culture Relate to Lake Epic Adventure. This is what Dave spoke to in, the beginning of council, so,
Move the recommendations.
okay, seconded by Councillor Ballinger. All those in favor? Carried. Report RC 1817 of Amando's regarding the, Recreation and Culture Expo Electrical.
The recommendation, Mayor O'Connor?
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Hyatt. All those in favor? Carried. Oh, sorry, you had questions? Yeah, excellent. Okay, report, FR05 of Phil Alexander, Fire Chief, resupply and delivery of bunker gear. Councillor Malloy?
Mayor O'Connor, I'll move the recommendation. I think it's a great idea. The chief's out there looking at a couple different options for our bunker gear. You can see there's only a couple $100 difference between the three of them anyway, so,
Sure.
good idea. Great. I'll move the recommendation.
I just have a question. Is there a reason why we're doing three different ones? Are they not all the same thing?
They're all a little bit different, and there's different technologies in different companies, so, the chief is going out and he's trying to find out which one's the best one that suits our department.
Fair enough.
Okay. So you're moving that?
I'm moving that recommendation.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Burton. All those in favor? Carried. Report 0617 of Phil Alexander, Fire Chief, rapid notify, self-registration emergency notification project. Move the recommendation, thank you. And seconded by Councillor Burton. All those in favor? Carried. Report CL 3417 of Catalina Blumenberg, sorry Catalina, I'll get it right yet. Approval to proceed to next steps of enabling accessibility in communities grant, and this is the Elgin Park accessible washroom renovation retrofit. And is this in the new washrooms? No? This is in the one in the center of the field. Okay. 'Cause I was gonna say, don't tell me. All right, so this is the old block one that's, yeah. Councillor Malloy.
I just have a question. Do we know where the $17,000 is coming from? I mean, I'm not a big fan of the comment that it's gonna come from savings from the 2017 budget. Do you have,
Well,
do we know
obviously
where it's
that
coming?
came from the lady sitting beside you.
Well, maybe then she could answer where the money's coming from.
So, yeah, this wasn't a budgeted item, so first we would look, if council approves this project, we would look to fund it through savings through the 2017 budget, and if we can't find any savings, then it would come back to budget to be funded.
But it's being done anyway, this year. It's being done this year? No? Next year?
If this is condition on receiving funding, okay?
Yeah, the project won't move forward unless we are successful in receiving the grant.
So what we'd be doing is saving if we get the grant, okay? So you're moving it?
I'll move the recommendation.
Okay, second, okay. Yes, go ahead.
So with this grant, there's also some capacity issues and probably some extra space in that block building, at least on the men's side. I wonder if we could increase the capacity so we don't have the same needs for porta potties as many going forward.
We don't bring in porta potties, do we?
The Bonner boys do, the Hits Fest did, I don't know about this weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
With even with all the, come on up. I'm sorry, I don't go to the Rib Fest 'cause I don't eat pork, so. Pardon? What did he?
They're outside the gate protesting, the animals are. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Are you serious? I wasn't there either, okay?
They passed out brochures and they were looking for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like bacon, but that's the only pork I eat.
So, to answer Councillor Barton's question, we looked at that, and the building will be increased to, I believe there's 3 units in the women's side and 2 in the men's, and we're increasing both sides to have 5 5 units each, and that's the max we can put in there. Part of the grant is to deal with accessibility, so the washrooms have to be a certain size to meet that that grant. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you still have to bring in porta potties?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
While you're here, how did it go?
It was great. Yeah, everything went really well.
Good.
Weekend, we dodged the weather, so it was great.
Yeah. So you made lots of money? Or you made money?
Yeah, we made money.
Yeah.
Not lots of money.
No.
All the work that goes into that is not lots.
Not even minimum wage.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, everybody understands that now? Washrooms will be increased to 5, and there'll be, some of them will be accessible. We need a seconder. Councillor, Barton. All those in favor? Carried. CL 3517 of Catalina's regarding, board member resignation.
I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. 4617 of Liz Hausum regarding 6700 Fourth Concession Road. I don't know how anybody else feels, but is this an expansion? Proposed expansion, and there a future expansion of the solar farm? That's what I looked at it as. Councillor Malloy?
It probably is, I'm sure it is, but I guess the reality is that it really is just a lot line adjustment, right? So, I don't know if there's much you can do about it. I mean, they're usually pretty accepted. And probably is an expansion of the solar field. I mean, that's a pretty good bet.
Can I speak to that?
Mm-hmm.
So, I got a phone call from a resident who lives across the road from this address, and, this is the old White Rose property.
Right.
And there's still piles of dirt, and it's still a pretty unkept site. I think before we support something like this, it would be nice to stipulate that they have to clean up some of the mess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's buildings that are in disrepair. This might be a time that we have a bit of power to make some changes there.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yep.
So, what we need to do then is to receive this report and go back to LG, Uxbridge Investments Limited, and tell them that we want the, property cleaned up, before we'll deal with their application. You can't?
I'm not sure that you can use that land division application as leverage for something like that. It might be more applicable to have a, clean and clear or something like that, a complaint placed on the property. I don't know that you can use your land division application. You may want to request that land division table it for now while we inquire, and then we could bring it back on the 21st, but, I'm not sure.
That would probably be a good thing then.
So I'd like to make that, we table this and have staff look at options.
Yeah, it's
It
been
might
like
be
that for a
more-
long time.
It might be more property standards or clean yards, but anyway,
Yeah.
it gives us an opportunity to look at that. So
Okay.
you wanna table it till the 21st, for reconsideration on the 21st then?
Right.
Mayor O'Connor, I mean, I don't think it matters with the land division, but I think somebody should just make a concern with our property standards and deal with it that way. I don't know why we table it and come back again. If we can't use it as leverage, then let's just do a property standards complaint and have property standards go to the property. Yeah, I agree with you. It's not really tied to the land division application at all, I don't think. Doesn't appear to be, so isn't it just as easy just to go out and do a property standards complaint? They're gonna go out and deal with the property, right? Regardless of the land division order.
I think if we delay this till the 22nd, it gives us, it lets the landowner know that we want some things done and we're willing to cooperate going forward.
Well, I'm just saying, as Debbie said, we can't use it as leverage.
No, she doesn't know for
Well,
sure.
okay.
Not if,
I'm fine,
I-
I'm just saying, all
I
we need to
think-
do is do a proper standards order, get it cleaned up.
I'm sorry, I don't know what way to direct you on this one.
well, why don't we table it till the 22nd and then look into options?
All right. So we'll table this, until the August meeting.
Just so we're clear on this, we have to request Land Division table it,
Right.
okay? Because, we're actually supposed to have our comments back to them by the 28th of July. So we'll have to request the Land Division table it for now. We'll deal, or it'll come back for consideration on the 21st.
Right. Are we all happy with that? And we find out, because this
They'll tell
has
us.
been a derelict
Yeah.
site for quite a while, and if we have an opportunity to get it cleaned up, then let's use it. Okay, so I have a mover, and seconded by Councillor Ballinger. All those in favor? Carried. Report 1917 of Amanda Ferrero, regarding tourism and Fields of Uxbridge Project Phase 2. Councillor Malloy.
Isn't this why we're here today, with all this money? Is that the right one, or do I have the wrong one?
Yeah.
That's why we're here, and I'm sure everybody else will jump in too, just to thank, Jennifer O'Connell, our MP, for pitching in and coming up with that money for us. We really appreciate it, and it certainly helped, and we mentioned this to our, Minister of Finance when he was here last week, that, without funds like that, we couldn't go ahead with some of these projects, so we appreciate the $366,000 from the federal government.
Councillor Ballinger?
No, I'll give you, when you're discussion, I'll give you a motion on option 1, to proceed with option 1.
Seconded, Councillor, Beach? Councillor, yep.
I guess, through you to Amanda, is the funding contingent upon doing the whole project, or are we at discretion to do what we want with that money? Can you answer that for me? In other words, it would be the full package, like, do we need to do that to get the full amount of the loan, or grant, rather?
The full amount of the grant would be for the washrooms specifically.
Okay, so the pavilion is sort of an add-on to it, okay. I'm kind of the same mind as Jack. I'd like to see this whole thing done.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna cost us more down the road if we decide to add this thing on, I think.
Yeah.
I would rather see us bite the bullet and do the whole thing now.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Barton?
Yeah. I'm just, the construction, can you explain the construction process that we're using here? It's a modular design. Can you, I struggle with the cost, that's all. It seems like a fairly simple building, and we're at $700,000. I've struggled with that over the weekend.
Yeah, there's, so because of our timelines, we went with a precast, concrete building. There was an option to bid on it without being precast. And there were 3 precast companies that provided quotes for those companies. So, we did get the best price for the precast building. However, I think, there was a lot of upgrades with the steel roof and the stainless steel washrooms, and those things will save us in the end because they're easy maintenance. We also did a corridor in the middle that makes it super easy for plumbing, any sort of issues that we have. There's a corridor in between the 2 washrooms, so there's a lot of thought put into this building, and I think it's a very well built building. Like, I can't think of anything that we're missing or anything that I wanted. Certainly there are some high-end items like the stainless steel fixtures, and that did cost us a little extra than we had anticipated.
No, there's no HVAC, no heating, no air conditioning?
There is a ventilation system, yes.
Oh, is there?
Yeah,
Okay.
it will be very similar to the washrooms, the new washrooms in Elgin Park,
Okay.
where when you enter the building, the ventilation is activated.
Oh, okay. So there is more to it than...
So there's no heating and cooling, but there is ventilation.
Okay.
Yeah. And it will be very seasonal, so it will be shut down in the winter.
Yeah, no, I get that part.
Yeah.
Just trying to envision...
Yeah.
what I could do for
And there's
Saturday.
16 washrooms, which will be really nice.
Yeah, okay.
Councillor Malloy?
Just a quick question with regards to the soccer club. They want 15 years rental. Of what space exactly are they getting free for 15 years?
The storage, they asked for a storage space, so
How much
there's...
space do they have? What are they proposing?
It's not a huge area. It's probably half of what they currently have, and it will just be for like soccer balls, soccer equipment, some small item storage is not equipment. It will just be, some of their referee stuff, their coach stuff,
So is it a 10 by 10?
It's similar to that. It's a little, maybe a tiny bit bigger than, about 10 by 10, yeah. I can't remember the exact dimensions right now, but it's not a huge space. And that's the space they're asking for to be rent-free. I did talk to them about, the canteen and whether or not they should be paying for hydro, because they've never paid for hydro. So currently they don't pay for hydro, so that might be something that we can go down the road with, and I did explain to them that this would not count as rent, that if we wanted them to recoup some hydro, that would be a separate issue.
But just to follow up, so this is just for the storage space, not
Just for the
canteen?
storage space, yeah.
Councillor Hyatt?
Just a follow-up question, Amanda. We all know that they've had issues up there with people penetrating, if I can use that word, the building.
Yeah.
Is this thing gonna be like ironclad?
We...
You're gonna need a front-end loader to kinda get into this building, or what's the deal here?
Well, we don't want to tempt fate, and we don't want to say it's completely vandal-proof, but we did our best to make it as vandal-proof as possible, and actually, Councillor Barton, that was another, thing that jacked up the price, was, our vandal-free, windows and,
you don't want
making sure that the doors were pretty, tough to get into, and as well as our roll-up windows. So, we did the best we could to be vandal-proof across the board.
Okay, great, thank you.
These kids spend as much time doing good as they do bad. The world would be a whole different place, wouldn't it? Okay, any further questions on that? No? Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Carried. The next report is 3617 of Catalina's, and it's potential ownership of transfer of municipally owned lands in the Testa Eudora subdivision in Eudora. And we've done this on a couple of occasions. Questions? Councillor Barton?
No questions.
No?
I'll
You're
move the
moving the
recommendations.
recommendation? Okay, do I have a seconder?
Jack.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. All right, what's next? Bylaws. Oh, resolution, sorry. Did we do 91? Sorry?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Okay, so transfer municipally owned to land, oh, it just did it.
Oh.
Well, thank you. It's been duly moved and seconded, whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Uxbridge deems it desirable to declare surplus and convey real property legally described as Part 17 to 25, Plan 40R 23286, part of Lot 34, Concession 6, Township of Uxbridge, Regional Municipality of Durham. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township of Uxbridge hereby declares the following. 1, that the property legally described as Part 17 to 25, Plan 40R 23286, part of Lot 34, Concession 6, is surplus to the needs of the municipality. 2, and that the public notice be placed in the local newspapers once a week for 2 consecutive weeks advising that the lands are being declared surplus and of the Township's intention to convey such lands. Township File L06 PS 82. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, now we go into bylaws. We're going to table 2017-109. That's the de Blasi. No. Okay. So, we have bylaws. Somebody got them? Okay. So, need a motion to table 2017-109, moved by Councillor Bryan, and Councillor Balger. All those in favor? Carried.
Bylaws requiring, 3 readings. First and second reading, moved by Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Ballinger, that leave be granted to introduce bylaws number 2017-106 to 108, and 2017-110 to 115, and the same be read a first and second time.
All those in favor of first and second reading? Carried.
Third reading, moved by Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Ballinger, that bylaws numbers 2017-106 to 108 and 2017-110 to 115 be now read a third time, finally passed, and that Mayor and Clerk duly sign and seal same.
All those in favor? Carried. Okay, under unfinished business, has anybody got, can I just ask, what happened to those 5 land divisions? Committee of Adjustments. We were just to go back to Amelia. She sent us 5 copies, remember? A couple of weeks ago.
I guess I didn't see the email, so I guess if you had comments, you would have had to go back to her, but I can find out.
Okay. Anything else under unfinished? Yeah. Under other business, we have, we got 2 A's. But anyway, Ontario Municipal Commuter Cycling Program, 217, application declaration municipalities with a population of 15,000 or greater.
I'm glad this is back on the agenda. I've thought more about what we could do once we had a cycling plan and we were open to this cap and trade funding. There's a number of things that we're going to have to do anyway, in terms of, bridges for trails. If you think of some of our trail systems as commuter cycling, for kids to get to work or to the arena and kids to get to school, there's a lot of things that would help us improve our trail network that we're already going to have to spend money on, that we might be able to spend with 20-cent dollars instead of, full price. So I think the, $12,000 to $20,000, which is our portion of the cycling plan, might be a great value going forward to allow us to get some of this funding.
Councillor Malloy?
I just, $15,000 to $20,000 for a cycling plan. I quite honestly, I can't believe it costs that much money to do a cycling plan. And I'd like to see an estimate on a cycling plan what it actually costs. I've heard $100,000 for a cycling plan. I mean, you got to pay somebody $100,000 to tell people where to ride in this township. I think that's ridiculous. I don't buy the numbers, and it's $20,000 that we don't have budgeted, and I think we need to know where the money's coming from. And I just don't support that, whether it's our township money or provincial money or federal money. $100,000 to do a cycling plan? Give me a break. We have a map already going through our township, and I think it's way too much money. It's a waste of money, and I think we can do it ourselves, quite frankly. I don't get the money. $100,000? I don't buy it. And I don't think we have the we certainly don't have the $20,000 budget right now. So it's something that has to come back to budget to find the $20,000 to do it. I think we can do it. I think that's
So just for that, Councillor Hyatt?
I'm certainly not opposed to a cycling plan, but I think we had this discussion when this came up before, that does this funding only apply to a commuter cycling plan? Or, what we're trying to achieve here is not only commuter, but recreational as well. And if we're going to be excluded because it's partly recreational, then I think, just to follow your line, is it really worthwhile to do a commuter type plan for Uxbridge? I'm not sure we're at that level yet, although it certainly wouldn't hurt to consider it in the future. If we're going to be excluded from this thing because it's partly recreational, then that's where I have an issue with it, so.
Okay, did staff, clarify that? I don't know whether Ingrid did or you, Madam Clerk, or maybe even Catalina, Deputy Clerk. Can we qualify for this if this was partly recreation versus commuter?
I'm not sure if it wasn't looked into by me. I think Ben was doing a report, or he spoke to,
Oh, sorry, Ben.
with respect to what the region had approved, for the cycling loop that they had talked to that day, but I'm sure with the exact specifications and, whether or not we're eligible for the grant, I don't know that. I'd have to look into it.
Right. Do you know whether we're eligible?
It says specifically for commuter bicycles, people getting to and from work. You can always try to apply, put a twist on it somehow, that.
Well, I think
But the grant, it's a four-year program. You can jump in year 3 or year 2 as well. It doesn't, you don't have to apply this year. If you don't apply this year, you can apply next year as well.
I think
So if
we
you
all
think you need
support-
more, if you think you need more time to think about it and talk about it and get more prices on the plan, then just refer it to 2018 budget discussions. But the first thing you have to do is the cycling plan. You don't get any money, you don't get any money for any infrastructure or upgrades or anything until you have the plan.
And I'm sorry, I would like to see a cycling plan, but I can't justify $100,000 for a cycling plan. I think that's outrageous.
There was a portion of the money that we had to be responsible for too.
Yeah.
It didn't cover 100% dollars.
No. We have to come up with 20%, right? And I think that, we certainly have a huge recreational use of bikes here. I'm not so sure we have very many people commuting to work on a bike. I don't want to see this thing in the town, maybe.
The only ones I ever see riding their bikes, quite honestly, are the kids going to work at Tim Hortons or Zehrs or whatever. That's who I see, riding their bikes in town. I guess they classify as a commuter, because they're all 15, right?
Can I suggest that this item be put forward to the 2018 budget? Okay, and then that gives us the time to work and to think about, how we're going to deal with this. I think that's a fair way, and then we can also discuss it, as you say, we need to come up with 20%. Whether that 20%, I think we could do one ourselves. Mr. Barton.
Yeah, so, and I agree, and I think I spoke during the last meeting about this. The $100,000 cycling plan seems insane to me as well.
Yeah.
So instead, why don't we apply for the grant? It would get announced in September. Then we could refer it to budget if we wanted to do it or not. But if we don't apply to get the grant to do the cycling plan, then we have to wait until the following September, possibly, when the next year of funding is available.
But I'm still not prepared to put in $100,000 for...
We don't have to, it's 20.
I know, but still, I think we could do the whole thing.
So, and I agree with you, but say we had a fixed cost of $30,000 of putting the plan together, by the time we're all done, not 100, we'd still be spending 20-cent dollars instead of full price dollars. So instead of spending 30, we'd be at 6.
What's council's wishes on this?
Mayor, I think that one of the issues, you don't have to do all the things, and you can choose and do part. That may work in that we come back in September and say no. But I think we have to make it real clear, we're not approving it.
No,
I think that, I don't want to imply that we're approving to spend $100,000 in this plan, but I think what we may find out is that if we do apply for the plan, we're going to find out that ours is recreational and not commuter, and won't qualify anyway, and then we don't have to talk about it. So...
Yeah, and can I just speak to that?
Yeah.
Just to prove a point today, I commuted to work on my bike. So I rode my bike here today to prove that people commute. You know, kids riding to school is one of the... But he doesn't have a car all the time, so he rides his bike to work. So like all these kids ride their bikes to school.
We have it, and I understand, and I don't wanna just let this go, but I think we have to have, a study done or whatever done by the, third week in August. That doesn't give us a lot of time to do it. Councillor Hyatt.
I think the region has a cycling plan, Ben, if I'm not mistaken, and that part of that is Uxbridge, because I know when they did the repaving between Goodwood and the town, that was incorporated as part of their plan. In other words, they painted the white line and made the shoulder, the hard shoulder, a bit wider. So if we can piggyback on that, and I guess my question to you, Ben, would be, can we phase this? In other words, can we do the town with the commuter type of mentality, and then branch out into doing recreational stuff outside of that? Is there a way to do that, do you know? Or do we know until we apply? How's that work?
I believe you could just do the cycling plan for town.
For town, and then expand on that moving forward? That might be the way to go. I don't wanna let this funding go, but at the same time, I don't wanna jump in and with this grandiose plan that's gonna cost us an arm and a leg, and we have no idea what the end result will be, so that would be my suggestion.
Can you have the application done, Ben, by September?
It's not a long process to apply.
Maybe you can come back in August with an update on it, so be my suggestion, is to
September
start
the
small
8th.
and build on it.
And there's a webinar on August 2nd and August 4th that we can go on, which will help us go through this process.
Okay, so I'm looking to staff, because it's gonna be you that has to do it.
Yeah, you're not looking at staff, you're looking at me.
Well, you're staff, aren't you? I think you're staff.
Should have stayed back there. Should have stayed back there.
I want you to be honest with us. Can you get it done or not?
Well, I guess if I have to get...
You know what, Ben, do you want me to do it and you can just, you can sign off on it?
No, I would prefer to do it myself, thanks.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Okay, the offer's there if you need any help. All right, so we're gonna put an application in, and we'll see where it goes.
Are we just doing it for town, is that?
For town
For the
only.
urban area?
Urban area to start off with.
So the plan is for the municipality, but our project list can be all town projects. So we say nobody's gonna commute on their bike from Zephyr, or not very many, so our existing infrastructure's fine. Our project list is, and I just put, you know, the bridge on South Balsam that we have to replace anyway. That is a commuter link if people are trying to get to theirs from Quaker Village. So that could be included. That would be a project that we could put on. Paved bike path through Quaker Park so that kids can ride on paved trails to get to school. Those are the types of projects we could put on it. These are ones that I came up with in 5 minutes, but.
If these are the types of projects, then maybe Amanda should be doing the application and not me if it's recreation. Trails.
Back to its recreational then, right?
Trails.
But they're commuting on trails.
They're commuting on
That's
trails.
the beauty of Uxbridge.
Yeah, but that's his point, it's not
Yeah.
on roads. So it should be Amanda that's doing the application versus. We direct to
Yeah,
staff,
we'll
I said that to start off with, and staff you said was you.
You can
Ah.
We'll
Okay,
decide. Can I just throw one quick thing in?
yeah,
Just Donna just pointed this out. So, I mean, it's not as easy as saying it's commuter. The one, item 7 says that point 3 indicates a pre-construction performance data is required for each funded project. The municipality will have to provide a pre-construction count of cyclists using
do you
current
wanna slow
infrastructure.
down so we can hear you?
Okay, at a minimum, now I'm getting to the hard part here, so, at a minimum, two-hour counts will be required on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday between 5 and 7 p.m., and the other on Saturday between 10 to 2, so it looks like we have to prove commuter cycling. I'm just saying, I'm just saying, we can't just say it's commuter. We gotta have some numbers, obviously, right? That, just so Ben's
You know
aware of
what?
that. And if Ben's gonna take care of it, that's fine.
You need all kinds of supporting documentation. So, as much as I think that we want to do this, or I know we want to do this, I think that we better spend some time and do it correctly. And let's, and I know you'd like to get it done sooner than later, but I think that what we need to do is spend time, put in a good, report, and, then we'll deal with it ourselves. We'll have the money put away, through a budget process for next year. I can't see us rushing this thing through until in September the 8th to get it done, when you need all that kind of supporting data. To me, the recommendation coming out of here would be to refer this to 2018 budget, for funding and for the application to go in. A good application.
I'll make that motion, Mayor O'Connor, but, and I think it is something to consider in the fact that if you put an application in now and then they turn it down, and then you kinda go, whoops, well, yeah, we should have put more information in for next time. I don't know how they refer back and forth to applications, but timing is an issue, that's for sure. Anyway, I'll make the motion to refer to the 2018 budget.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Ballinger. Are you seconding it, or
No,
comment?
I'd like to make a comment on this. I understand what everybody's saying, but you know, I spent 6 months on an application to Durham Walks to 150. Did everything you had to do. Saw every mayor, saw everything. Put it in, and it's near the end of the thing, and put it in. The last minute, it's turned down. And really, the real reason why it's turned down is maybe they ran out of money. And I'm looking at this and saying, you know, what harm can it do if we apply for it now? If the plan is only, say it's $40,000, it's only gonna cost us $8,000 if we get it in there. So, I understand the budget process and everything, but I went through something and I said, you know what? The next time something comes up, we get in quick. That's my comment.
Well, then somebody put a motion on the floor how you want to deal with this, because I'm telling you, who is going to supply all the backup material that we need? That's my concern. Councillor Hyatt, and then
Yeah, I know Ingrid's not here.
He's gonna put a motion on.
I know Ingrid's not here today, maybe she could provide some backup, but we've already had requests through BIA, and I know Ben's been aware of this, for like bike racks, places to, you know, not only park your bike, but have it visible and all the rest of it. Would that plan be part and parcel of doing that, do you know, Ben, or is it this just for creating a route?
That,
Because if it does,
that
then maybe we
probably
should
isn't-
apply today, that's
it
all I'm
probably
saying.
isn't commuter. It's probably recreation.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we're gonna have to provide these bike racks downtown and have areas where they are secure, et cetera. So I'm thinking, could we squeeze that in under the commuter umbrella, Dave? I don't know, maybe you got any ideas, but
Okay,
there
I want a
are
motion.
people in town that ride their
Yeah.
bikes to work, there's no doubt about it. But how do we convey that message and get, as Jack is saying, even a little bit of funding would be great, rather than asking for $100,000, I think would be kinda ludicrous at this point, but 10,000 would work for us.
Okay, I have a mover to refer to 218 budget with no seconder. You're seconding, okay, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
The big bucks.
Big bucks.
Said that to me.
You know what, I'm going to support, support that it go through that process. Go through the 18 budget, we get all our documentation together, and, Ingrid isn't here. Hopefully she'll be able to help us with her past experience. All right, so the motion is, it's carried to 218 budget, and, it'll be Amanda, I guess, that does it. And we'll need to sit down, Dave, you'll have to sit down with, Amanda, when you're doing this and make sure that everything's covered that you want covered.
Yeah, the problem is some of us we might not even be on council in 2018, right?
You'll be here for the 18 budget.
Okay. Yeah,
We start
yeah, no,
the-
okay. It would be, I may not actually be present to actually help with the plan.
Well, you know
So-
what, none of us, if we
No,
look at that,
yeah.
none of us might be here.
Part of, and we've already voted, but we can just as easily could have referred it to 2018 budget and be doing it on 20-cent dollars and put it in the wish
But we're
list.
we can do it in 218 budget and still do it in 20-cent dollars. Yeah, but then we're ready. Well, we've taken the vote, okay? All those in favor? Oh, we're done. I voted. I made my, sorry. Okay, so, just a minute. Is there any other business here? If not, sorry?
Just a final point, there's nothing to prevent us from doing something internally pending this other thing. In other words, as the mayor said, if we can do all these reports and get all these ducks in a row so that we have something substantial by the time the budget rolls around, and then we can decide, do we want to kick in X number of dollars to get this thing going? I think that would be the way to do it, rather than going, what are we gonna do? We don't really know at this point, I don't think, right?
Okay.
But if we have to provide statistics or whatever to whomever, I think it gives us time to do that, or gives Ben time to do that, or Amanda.
Go ahead.
Your worship, just with respect to your question you had regarding the Committee of Adjustment applications, I spoke with Amelia and the meeting was last week, so if you had any comments, you should have got them to her already.
No problem. Thank you. One item regarding litigation. So, before we go into in-camera, press, questions?
Just a couple of questions, Mayor, if I may. The deputation by Danette Dillon, it says an information package was provided to council. Will that package be made available to the media?
Yeah.
It wasn't provided because it contains an awful lot of personal information. If you're going to formally request it, then you can do so at the clerk's department desk and able to provide some of it, but I'd have to look at everything in detail and see what we can and can't provide.
So if I get it, it'll be redacted?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So I come to the clerk's office, do I? Okay. On Ben Kester's report regarding the retaining wall, he has a photograph there indicating the portion of the wall that's owned by the township. And I wonder if that rendition by Ben is accurate, because it would appear to be just the one little section at the end of that little parquet. And if that's the case, I question $6,000 to replace that little section of a wall?
Ben?
I guess the idea is to have one contractor do the whole thing. So the contractor was already approved by the CIBC, I believe, and the artist to do their part. I had to deal with the region to get their approval to do the part on Brock Street. And that, you're right, that little part is our only part.
$6,000.
It's not using the same stones, it's using armor stone, which is heavier, which means it hopefully won't tip out like the last one did.
And armor stone, you pay by the weight of the stone too, is it not?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Report 5317 by Karen Mill on the tender for the music hall painting. I'm wondering if council or township staff or whatever is going to take a look at the township's tendering process. There seems to be an awful lot of problems with the tendering lately, with wildly fluctuating bids from various contractors. This one's got discrepancies. We've seen a lot of this in the last little while. I wonder, does the tender process need review?
Well, first of all, the discrepancy, maybe it wasn't put out as clearly as it should have been. The wildly adjusting prices, I can tell you, that's been going on now for about 3 years at the local and at the regional level. There's people that want their name to be continued to be used, that have sufficient work, or they've got too much work, but they'll put a bid in anyway. There's new people coming on. We've seen at the region where people have bid a low price and then have to back out because they haven't bid accordingly. So I don't think it's anything to do with the Township of Uxbridge. I just think that's the way that's going on out there today, Roger. And yes, there must have been, and I didn't see anything to do with this particular tender for the painting of the music hall. But there must have been something in it that wasn't clear.
I looked at that tender and it looked fine to me. When staff looks at it, we know what we want, but when it gets into the intricacies, it sometimes doesn't transform onto the paper. And we even had a site meeting with every contractor where they could ask questions, and we answered them all. But then when you get the low bidder, we met with them again because we thought the price was too low. And then all of a sudden, well, I don't really want to do this, and this wasn't clear, and that wasn't clear, and that's the way it happens.
So it's not necessarily the township's fault, it's because people haven't read the tender when they submit.
Partially. When you get into tender, some are harder to do than others. Actually, the small ones are more harder to do than the bigger ones sometimes. Something as simple as, you know, we said paint here, paint here, paint here, but we didn't specify that there was 2 colors of paint.
What difference would that make?
Well, you have to mask between the 2 of them.
Oh.
Stuff like that you don't necessarily think of. But going forward, all the questions that were raised this time, the next time, we'll have them all covered.
One last question, if I may, Mayor. Talking about the cycling plan, and council kept mentioning $100,000, but I looked all the way through that report. I couldn't see any mention of that figure. Where does that come from?
Go ahead.
We inquired with the town of Whitby on what they see, if it was $140,000. I can get you real information, don't print that, but it was
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, no, I was giving you an estimate, but then we, I just don't wanna give an exact figure when it was a month ago I read it. So then we made an estimate on what it may cost in Uxbridge to do a cycling plan, based on what it cost them. And they told us about $100,000.
I think that it was 140 that Whitby
But that,
spent.
I just don't wanna misquote that group when they tried to help us out.
I'm as
So
clear
that's
as-
where we got that number, Roger.
Oh, if I may, Mayor, one last thing. I think Councillor Beach was a little lax in her announcements at the start of council, in failing to mention, that she donated her hair, for cancer. Taking pictures and recording the whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How come you're not there when I
I'm sorry?
donate mine hair every 3 weeks?
I took all that. I don't need your color right now.
I don't think they make brush cut wigs, Mayor.
Okay. Nothing? Nothing from the Standard? Nothing? Just yell.
You guys approve MP Jennifer O'Connell's summer social
Yes.
thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
None of us will be there, but, we'll all be in Ottawa at AMO. So we wish her all the best. Okay, so I need a motion now to go into camera. Councillor Beach, Councillor Ballinger, all those in favor? Carried.